there. Good to see some people coming on. I'm excited. I haven't done a webinar in so long. So I really enjoy this StreamYard service. It does a great job with YouTube Live. It's a little tougher with Facebook because you just need to, if you're happen to be on Facebook watching, to write like a comment, you need to approve StreamYard. There should be like a little button so that I can see your name and your comment. Just like you have to give it permission. Okay, well, I see one question in the chat from Paul. I think that's all I see so far. But if you, before we get started, you want to direct me and what you most want to learn today, I'm pretty flexible. So I'm guessing we'll have some people wanting to learn about mold detox since that's kind of my specialty. But if there's anything else you want to cover or just want me to mention, just go ahead and say so, or if you just want to share where you're from. I think I'm going to add a little tiny bit about COVID just since I'm getting over COVID myself. It's kind of fresh in my thinking. Okay. Thanks for being here. I'll just pull up my slides then. Dante said heavy metal detox with mercury filling. I can touch on that a bit, but I wouldn't say heavy metal detox is my number one specialty. But we can talk about it a little bit. And, mercury is so deeply penetrating, so to speak. It needs to be handled a little bit differently and often a little bit more professionally with guidance. But that being said, generally when we detox with fibers and certain agents, we can detox some heavy metal. But if you have like a major mercury issue, you do often need some like bigger guns as well. But that's a great question. I also put in the chat 2 drive links I'll show later, but we have a free ebook on detoxing with binders. That's the first link in the chat. And then the second one is about a detox readiness quiz. So I will show those off in a minute. One sec. Dante said, what would you recommend for a gentle start from mercury filling after removal? Okay, that's a good question. I'm just going to talk about it a bit while I get the slides ready. Like cilantro and chlorella are 2 nice agents. And then some of the binders we mentioned today are great because you want to flush it out with the stool and eating lots of fiber and fats. Jay, your question is so appropriate about breathing trouble. Yeah, I'm sort of going through that myself, and I just interviewed somebody who taught me a little bit about the lungs and mold. So I'll address what I can, and honestly, I think I need to just dig deeper myself too. And I'll tell you what I'm going to try, what I have tried, and I think there's more to be learned in this area. Mold, and Kristen said liver and gallbladder detox from mold and Lyme. Okay, well, so we're going to definitely hit some liver gallbladder stuff today. So Dante, we'll hit some, why is this being so annoying? Here we go. We're going to hit some different minors today, but I would also recommend you look up the work of Wendy Myers because she's my friend who does a lot of more specialized heavy metal detox. So you can look up mercury in particular or anything else if you've tested for anything else. Okay, here we go. So this little presentation will be available at YouTube at the same link afterwards. So that makes it nice and easy if you want to reference anything or send anyone to it. So this is me. If you're on this call, you probably know me, but there might be a chance you just randomly just found me on YouTube or something. So this is my professional background in a bit of a nutshell. So I started my career as an acupuncturist. I was living in Oregon when I got sick with mold. So I didn't know I had mold. So I was just learning a lot until I found out. And then I kind of switched my practice from more of acupuncture to hormones to detox. So this is just an educational presentation. Definitely have a provider that you see and speak with before you start anything new. This is what we're gonna cover today, and we'll also take questions and some of the questions that came up. I'll talk more about at the end or as I go, and we'll get some more questions in. I know it's definitely a big topic. It can feel confusing for sure. So if you're here, you probably know why to detox, but just sort of a summary and some of my opinions. Certainly mold exposure is probably why some of you are here. We talked a bit about heavy metals. That's on the list. We run a urine test for different toxicants, and we're all exposed to, for example, one thing we see a lot is jet fuel and gasoline additives present and that the body is metabolizing. But, Lyme was mentioned earlier. Infections make waste products to detox that can drain our systems. So I personally am just a big believer in understanding detox and just gently participating in it all the time. So it can be as simple as drinking more water, dry brushing your skin, getting more frequent movement. It doesn't have to be, crazy intense, but I really believe in the modern world, we have to be more conscious of detox. So people still talking about exercise and diet. I think detox should be right up there. And some of that happens with exercise and diet. But there are other, certainly other techniques as well to just be aware of. So our bodies do have detox systems. Somebody asked about the systems that do it. So it's basically the lung system through breath. We detox through breath. We detox through the kidney and urine. We detox through the stool. All that's passed through first through the liver, and the lymphatic system is sort of a helper there. The immune system. So really, there's a lot of components going on with detox all at the same time, and we all have our weak points are that we need to work on. Some people aren't having bowel movements. Some people are struggling with lung health. So it's just a matter of just supporting the body's processes. Whether it's getting better nutrition or getting some herbs for the lungs, whatever it is, and that just makes detox a lot more efficient. So many symptoms of toxicity could happen. But having skin rashes can be a way that the body, I didn't mention the skin and sweating is also one way we detox, right? And the skin is also a microbiome. So sometimes skin rashes is a sign that the body isn't handling well its detox load. The gut is leaky, so things are coming out through the skin. Allergies, I know for me, I've gotten a lot more sensitive to allergies post mold. Chronic inflammation can be a sign of toxicity. gaining weight because the body will store extra toxins it can't keep up with in the fat cells. Fatigue, certainly from mitochondrial deficits from toxicity. Hair loss can be a sign. These are just a few examples. Craving sugars, caffeine because of low energy can be a sign. So many examples. And just depending on our body's history and makeup, we could have, things pushing out through the skin or weight gain or hair loss. It just sort of depends on the person how things will manifest. So let me show you guys this real quick. Well, anyway, I put it in the link, this guide, so you can print out this guide as well. This detox readiness survey. Some of this is in my book about mold, but I added a couple things, and this is just sort of before we dive into like supplements and stuff for detox. It's really important to stop and think about, okay, am I doing the basic things that make me ready for detox? So for example, like number one, if you aren't getting a good night's sleep, maybe you're only sleeping three hours a night, you're just, having a lot of trouble, it's not a time to detox because your body's already struggling. You need more sleep than that. So fix that first before you try to detox. Again, we all have like blind spots, and sometimes we don't think about these things. Number two is maybe sometimes a big ask, but if you're under a lot of interpersonal stress, might not be the right time to detox either. So just think about that, or limit exposure to certain people in your life while you're working on healing. Having a healthy diet is important. Making sure you're getting fibers and you're hydrating before you start detoxing. Making sure you're moving your body, even if you can't do a lot with how sick you are right now. You're just doing a little walking, doing a little stretching, getting outside and getting some fresh air and nature exposure is really important. Make sure you're pooping, because that's an important way that we get toxins out. Make sure you're just kind of familiar with what you're getting into. And like I mentioned earlier, have someone you are working with one-on-one. Making sure you're resting. That's, when the body's healing too. Fluids. Make sure you're taking toxins out of your life. If you're on this call, you probably are, but avoiding plastics in your home, fragrance in your home, making sure you're wet dusting, changing air filters, those kinds of things are really important. Number 12 is another big ass type of one, which is, as you go through something, especially this was sort of thought of when I was working on my mold book. It's just important to keep what's most important in mind. So, if you're trying to work on your health, stay focused on that in spite of some of the stresses around things you're giving up time wise, or things that cost money, and just staying true to whatever it is that you're going for as you detox will create less stress. Make sure you're still not in mold while you're healing. I know that there are little transitional times, but ultimately you can't really heal. You can't heal in a place that with the mold load is high. So every place has a different load, I think we can say. No place is 100% perfect of anything. But you really, it's going to be hard to recover if you're still in a moldy place. We can take questions on that later. And then the last one, before you start doing detox supplements, I really encourage people to do kind of the basic supplements for nutrition, like fish oil, magnesium, B vitamins. These aren't as sexy, but they are just essential for our cellular function. So I think they're important to be taking, especially when our body is under a toxic load. So one simple way to detox metals in general is to be making sure you get plenty of minerals, because they compete for the same receptor sites. So sometimes you can use minerals to crowd out heavy metals, but there is some delicacy to that process. If you want to look into that more with Wendy Myers, who I mentioned. So these are my essentials: a multivitamin, fish oil. We cannot make the fatty acids from fish. Or algae if you're a vegan, ourselves. We can only make them in minute amounts. So it's still important to get fish oil. Magnesium, usually too bulky to go in a multivitamin. Vitamin D, most of us, I would say, 95% do need supplemental vitamin D. And then not exactly a vitamin, but I do think it's worthwhile to just constantly be feeding your gut. I would say at the minimum a prebiotic. Like if you've laid the groundwork with a good probiotic, then just switch over to either a super fibrous rich diet, or also be taking a prebiotic to feed what's in there. So just small note on COVID here. I really think that these things are just important to have in your system should a threat hit you, right? Having strong gut health, having long COVID is usually there's inflammation in the brain and the gut. So having a pre-existing leaky gut, leaky brain is not going to be, great for you when COVID comes around. Fish oil is really helpful for not letting a virus go from cell to cell. So they all have, I think I have a slide on it here. I'm talking a little bit more about immunity, but this slide shows more how some of these basic supplements really do affect detox. They're really important. And something like B vitamins is very affordable, right? I mean, kind of all of these things are fairly affordable. So I feel thankful that I had them, in my system when I got sick, and then I was just more cognizant to take them while I was sick. Because in regular life, sometimes like I miss a day. Although I don't know if you can still see me. I've been really good about my pill organizer lately. So I get some antioxidants and detox supplements plus my foundationals here. So here are our foundationals, and that's a picture of our Mega Pre powder. Literally all these things are on sale, so I'll tell you more about it later. Okay, moving into some detox agents. So a binder is something that, I don't know if chemically is the right word, or more electrically binds or structurally binds toxins. So it's either like a sponge where they can trap them, or they literally have like a charge where they attract them. So they can bind all different kinds of things. And there's actually lots of things that are binders. So I think things like charcoal are like maybe the most famous binder, but actually a lot of things bind. A lot of fibers bind. A lot of immunoglobulins and yeast bind too. So I think it's a bigger category than it gets credit for. So we had the question about liver and gallbladder here. So gallbladder stores the bile and squirts it out into the intestines. So let's back up a little bit here. So the liver goes through some phases of detox. You may have heard. Let me see if I have a slide on this or not. Maybe later, but last phase is excreting into the urine or the stool through the bile. So water-soluble toxins will go to the kidney system, and fat-soluble will go into the bile. So the bile needs us to have certain nutrients, and it generally nowadays needs some stimulation because the kind of food we eat and lifestyles we have don't really encourage bile movement. So bitter foods are really good, like a bitter salad, bitter tincture, bitter greens, that kind of a thing. Again, getting more frequent movement in the day is good. Having food that you have to chew, food that you smell and you cook, so that stimulates digestion. All these things are helpful, things with some enzymes in it. Taking enzymes can be helpful too. I really am a big fan of taking digestive enzymes. And again, giving the liver all those nutrients it needs. Liver loves a lot of protein, all the kinds of protein, loves B vitamins, loves eggs if you tolerate those, onions, garlic. The liver is a very needy little organ. It likes a lot of stuff. So just getting a lot of nutrition for the liver is really important. And even, I know fasting has become a popular topic, but there's a difference between intentional fasting and just skipping meals. Like we need protein to detox. We need fats to make bile. So many of us don't eat enough fats. So you need this nice rich bile that is fatty and hydrated. So lots of water, lots of fats, getting those bitters. Now you're like pumping the bile. Also, coffee enema, fantastic for pumping the bile and cleaning the liver and giving the liver a break. So, don't know how much I'm getting into coffee enemas on this, but if you want to ask questions, feel free. I have a YouTube video on it. It's the recipes in my book. So, I love coffee enema. It's just, if you're looking for kind of taking it to the next level with something like mold and Lyme that she mentioned earlier, I totally recommend coffee enema for that. So, some people don't tolerate binders, and we are going to go into different types here soon. Again, there's so many types, you probably can tolerate some type, but just getting like fiber, getting fats, getting water, maybe using a sauna, getting exercise, you can live without a commercial binder, right? As long as you are pooping often, you're getting fiber, like that fiber is going to trap stuff on the way out. So, what we're trying to prevent is bile recycling back in and retoxifying you, basically. So, the body is designed to recycle bile, but if it has a bunch of toxins in it, you want to get that bile out. So, that's part of what binders are doing, are just making sure it gets out in the stool. But again, there's like more than one way to do it. So for me, I tolerate binders fine. They just feel neutral. Some people feel better on them. Some people feel worse. Some people need to find the right binder. Some people cycle binders. That's a way to do it, like a single ingredient binder, and you take turns with it, so to speak. Um, let's see. Yeah, this is just a little side comment on how I feel on binders. I would say they're like the garbage men of the detox world. So they're important. They do an important job. Whether or not you feel like $1,000,000 when you take one may depend on the situation. The only time I really feel it is if maybe I ate something wrong and I take charcoal, and that makes me feel better. So, why did I get into this slide? I'm trying to remember here. Oh, I'm not sure why I put this in here. Um, Maybe just to say, if you are dealing with detox, just be aware that you may have a histamine problem. So, binders can be good for getting out the histamines. I'm sorry, for getting out toxins, but some of your system symptoms could be coming from this histamine overload you've developed. So, that can be from gut health that's declined. So again, getting the microbiome back in order, an overactive kind of immune system. So here are some of those symptoms that a lot of times with mold, um, it's histamines that are still creating your current symptoms. So some people do better with the low histamine diet. And I just put a few things that can be histamine irritants on here. But if you're a mold person or just a chronic illness person, you may have already found out you don't do well on certain foods, um, leftovers, uh, alcohol. I mean, none of us probably do well on alcohol if we've dealt with a lot of toxicity. Um, and there's things that can help reduce histamines naturally or over the counter. I think I just kind of put this in here as like a little, side conversation that if you haven't really looked into histamine overload, it's something to consider. I have a little bit about it in my mold book. And then Dr. Becky Campbell is a source if you want to learn more about histamines as well. Okay, getting back to binders. So here's an example. And again, I put a link to this ebook in the chat, but I should relink it for you. Um, so Saccharomyces boulardii is actually a yeast that's quite good for mold toxins, but can be for other toxins as well. And it's not in our binder because our binder is more of a traditional charcoal based binder. So if you want to use something like Saccharomyces boulardii, I think you don't want it bound up in the charcoal. So this is Restore Flora that has the Saccharomyces boulardii. But here's one little quote about binding mold toxins in particular. So it's pretty cool. Most reliable time to take binders is bedtime because you're not, eating. You probably haven't eaten in a bit. If you are going to take melatonin or something to sleep, just have a little bit of gap between it. If you want to do them more than once in the day, when you wake up is a really easy time. Just, you don't want to be taking like your thyroid medication. That's usually when people take thyroid medication. So if you do take thyroid medication, you probably want to do that first and then say wait half an hour, probably an hour till that's like gotten into you. Um, so you generally just want it on an empty stomach. You can also add it to a sauna session or even a coffee enema session if you want. And some people can't take much. Some people can just take a little bit of a capsule. They have to dump it out. Um, as long as you can tell like a little bit is better than nothing. We're all different. So some detox protocols I've seen have you doing 2 binder pills 3 times a day. It's a bit of a lot of work because you're trying to find an empty stomach 3 times a day. And you better make sure it's a binder you tolerate well. But if you can get it in that often, that's great. I'm not super strict on everybody has to do the same thing because we're all so different. So some people feel constipated from binders. That's probably like the number one side effect. But some people, again, maybe feel worse or better. Our binder is meant to treat constipation, but if it's too strong for you, it will feel like too much movement. But luckily, we're finding lots of people who are constipated and it's not too strong for them. Oh, here's another note. Like, binders aren't like, it's not like it's in jail and it's perfectly bound. So when a binder is pulling it through, it's still there. So that's why sometimes people feel still symptomatic. They can't handle still that presence of the toxin. So they're still having some inflammation. So we'll talk more about that later with like antioxidants and stuff. Again, so always start a new thing slowly because you don't know how you'll react, no matter pretty much what you start. I have some supplements in here that really helped me when I was in a flare up. I would do, um, twice a day magnesium fish oil and pure PC, which is a phospholipid, but it's kind of anti inflammatory for the brain and the gut. Luckily I don't flare up like this much anymore, but when I was really sick, sometimes I just need to take Advil or I take a Claritin or, you know, sometimes you just have to knock out because you're not getting through your day without it. So if you do get into a flare up, whether it's over a supplement or you get re-exposed to mold or whatever happens, um, just you got to take a step back from that supplement. You maybe got too high of a dose too quickly. I think it's really easy to have an emotional reaction to Oh, I took a supplement and now I don't feel good. It's just um it's just information, right? It doesn't feel good, but it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Like, we're just sort of all learning and experimenting with what our body likes. It does mean you need to back off though, because just like when we talked about recycling bile back in, you don't want to try to detoxify so quickly that you can't handle it, because then it's just coming back into your system or getting stored somewhere else or getting moved somewhere else. So that's never a good sign. And it just means you have to make some changes. We have a guidebook on this. It's really just as usually a handful of categories. I do. Are you getting a headache? Are you getting some GI upset? There's just usually just a few things that could happen, and then you just have to manage those and rethink it. This is what that book looks like, and it's at BridgitDanner.com. This side effects book. So this is our binder, and we're going to go through some of the ingredients in a minute, but it's really meant for mold detox, although it's going to detox other things, including some heavy metals. We are not allowed to say that, especially like on Amazon, so we don't. But different binders will bind different things, whether they're heavy metals or organic waste products or mycotoxins. So ours is a blend type. And it has some ingredients to move the bile, to bind the bile, again, to treat constipation. Because it's all herbal, it has some little, benefits like antioxidants and stuff like that. Um, so it's a pretty, a lot of ingredients. Some are more for bowel and bile moving, and some are just to bind different types of mycotoxins. So again, some are more fibrous. Um, some are more of a electric kind of bind. Charcoal originally I avoided putting in here because it is a real binder. It'll bind with medications and food and stuff. So it's not really meant for like a long-term daily use. But I was making it, I just couldn't get the formula to feel right until I got charcoal in there. Um, so it's in there. I actually do really well on charcoal. I always have. I would just say, just be aware this isn't meant to be a product to take forever and ever and ever. Hopefully you're using it while you're actively detoxing, or it's one of the binders you use. And then then later you're just using it as needed to take breaks. I find this is a fairly strong bowel mover. And if you don't move your bowels well on your own, it may be a good tool to have, but I definitely would like you to learn about your body and what can help you with bowel movements as well, because you don't want to be too dependent on something moving your bowels all the time. That being said, if temporarily you need some help moving your bowels, then use it because you don't want to be constipated. So here's a few of the mold toxins it's binding. Aloe vera actually does have some binding capacity, but it's more in here for your gut and to keep things moving. So here's some of its binding capacity. Modified citrus pectin, you probably heard of in the detox space. It has some pretty cool special properties for the blood-brain barrier and biofilm. It's used in like cancer protocols. It's pretty interesting. So this is just a partly modified citrus pectin product for some of its functions, but you'll learn more about it in our mold summit this winter, this February. Fulvic humic acid, you've probably heard of. It's pretty interesting stuff. It's basically very old earth. So it's very mineral rich. It's binding. Again, we just have a partial, the partial role in this formula, but it's a pretty cool thing, and it's something you can take on your own too. If you need something gentler than our multi-binder, you might want to try something like this on its own. You can get it as a tincture. So ours is actually from the Himalayas, which is pretty cool. And you can see that it's really does some amazing things too. At the end here, you can see, um, it has some ability to prevent the tau tangles in the brain. Glucomannan you don't hear about as much. It's a fiber. They think they used it more in the diabetes community for blood sugar, but it's also an effective toxin binder, more like in the fiber route. Zeolite, you may have heard of. It can detox a lot of things. There's different types of zeolite. This is the one that's in ours. This, I don't even know if I can pronounce it. Clinoptilorite. No, that's not quite right. Anyway, here's some pictures of what zeolite looks like. So it has silica, which is a nice detox agent that I should probably, teach more about. Chinese rhubarb powder is in here basically to move the bowels, but it also has some benefits to the blood and the liver and the kidneys, which is great. Mold is can be hard on the kidneys, so some microtoxins can actually attack the kidney system. So I have gotten this question, doesn't rhubarb have high oxalates? This is the root, it's not the stalk. So um, it's different. So I just find, a lot of people are using laxatives and coffee and stuff to have a bowel movement. So, if you're in that category, see if you can kind of cut down on those other things with this binder. Artichoke leaf is another ingredient, removes the bile. Artichoke leaf is pretty awesome. It increases ATP production, as does that fulvic and humic acid. Has some fiber. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so that's like focusing on the binder, and we're going to move on to some other detox agents. So this is our little detox line, and it's all 20% off right now. So if there's something you haven't tried, you can try it. I am crazy about antioxidants. I don't think they get enough play in the detox world either. So a lot of what we consider the damage from toxicity is oxidative stress. So the body is always in a dance of handling oxidative stress. And that can happen just from making energy in the body. There's oxidation from that. But then things like being exposed to smoke or sunshine actually makes oxidative damage on your skin. Um, and then toxins are making a lot of oxidative damage. So, and that's really often what's making you so tired. So, having antioxidants in your diet and in your supplement regime is really important. So, let me go back a second. I think there's some amount of antioxidant in every product we have. So, glutathione, uh, you probably heard of as being important for detox. There's lots of ways to take it. There are sprays, there are liposomal forms, there's NAC that's a precursor. Coffee enema is very good for glutathione. So, oh, and another thing, I should have added this to the slide, is alpha lipoic acid. It helps you recycle glutathione, and it's a little cheaper and maybe easier to tolerate in some cases. So, just make a little side note about alpha lipoic acid. It's a product I'd like to carry in the future to recycle glutathione for you. But yeah, glutathione is generally going to be depleted in the presence of continuing toxins like mold. So that's why it gets mentioned as an important thing to replete, so to speak. So it's a pretty special thing. It's an antioxidant, but it also has some direct effect on like phase one and I think phase two detox. Our glutathione is in a capsule. It's this S-acetyl glutathione form, which means it's attached to this acetyl group, so it doesn't break down in your stomach. It actually goes to the cell. This is where I think there's some myth busting that needs to be done with glutathione because people think like there's only one good form or whatever, and that's actually not true. There's lots of different ways that glutathione can get into you, whether it's like a precursor or a recycler or this acetyl type. So I find this type to be very stable. So this is what ours looks like. Ours also has some NAC and some B6 that's like supportive. There are some information about glutathione irritating the lungs. I have not experienced that, but I just added it as something to know about potentially. I think it's just sort of the way people sort of process glutathione. CoQ10 I completely love. I started taking it when I had mold stronger. I still take it. It's an antioxidant that's very beneficial to your mitochondria. So, um, we produce less when we age. Our body does make CoQ10, but less with age. It's not really in food very much unless you're eating like organ supplements or organs, especially heart organ. But this is generally going to be depleted when you're going through something like mold. It's also really good to be taking for your skin and your heart as you age and just energy in general. CoQ10 is one of those things that does a million things. Like here, it's recycling other antioxidants that, again, we need. There's this thing called the antioxidant network, and it's like 5 antioxidants that are all supporting each other, recycling each other. It's good for the mitochondria, and also the cell wall. It does some tasks similar to glutathione. So it can kind of preserve glutathione. Again, they kind of help each other out. Good for the liver. Good for some glucose metabolism, energy metabolism. Good for athletes. Good for doing a lot of sport does cause a lot of oxidative damage. So if you're someone who likes to work out hard, you definitely need to be on your antioxidants. CoQ10, you do need to be a little careful with medications or trying to take too high of a dose. It does interact with some medications, making them work better often. So just something to be aware of, and you can go back to the slide or take a screenshot. It can actually make you need less insulin. So you have to kind of be aware of that. It's beneficial for these prescriptions because these reduce CoQ10. So really anybody who is on some of these statins and cholesterol medications should be on CoQ10 as well. Broccoli seed and sprout also has antioxidant properties and encourages the production of antioxidants, including glutathione. So it's pretty important. Supports a pathway, a phase 2 liver detox pathway that's really good for mycotoxins, so for mold. We had the question earlier about liver health. I love broccoli seed and sprout for liver health. It's very supportive of liver cells and just like liver health directly. Its function, its ability to like handle its load. Again, there's been some studies about it being beneficial for things like gasoline additives that we're all exposed to. It's antioxidant, it's anti-inflammatory. It's very easily tolerated as well. Here's a quote, it might be a little hard to read, about a pathway that it turns on to make antioxidants. And just so easy to take. You can just take it safely every day. I always get this question, so I included it. Yes, you can just eat broccoli sprouts. And when I looked it up, they actually are, like, if you're going to take a good dose of them, they're going to be pretty strong for you. Um, I think it's like a half a cup. You do need to chew it or break it down or soak them in warm water to break them down. I think probably smashing them up in a like a smoothie probably works too. But supposedly soaking them in water is like the number one. Hot water is the number one way. You see here, for it to be activated, it has to come in contact with this enzyme. I think the enzyme is, yeah, the enzyme is in it, but it's released when the plant is broken or damaged. So it has this compound sulforaphane that is not really found in mature broccoli as much as the sprouts, and that's a detox agent. So yeah, even if you have a half a cup a day, that's fine. I think the reality is most of us aren't eating broccoli sprouts every single day, right? Like you can buy in the store, you can grow them, but I don't know many people doing that daily, or if you're traveling. So this is our broccoli seed and sprout extract. It's a spendy supplement, but it's really just one a day for maintenance. And you may want to do more if you're actively detoxing excess estrogen or mycotoxins or something in particular. I don't know its ability on heavy metals, but since it's so supportive of the liver, I would think it has some benefit. So this is just kind of in general, always a reminder to start slowly. Especially many of us with chronic illness are sensitive. The body just kind of becomes hypersensitive. And I think this might be the last one. Electrolytes are especially good for mold detox because many of us are urinating more because of some hormonal changes. And then hopefully we're using our sauna. And then just detoxing makes you need more micronutrients. So this is our electrolyte and some things in it and some food sources. Again, you can get a lot of electrolytes from a healthy diet and salts, but most of us just need a boost. So I selected things to go in here that specifically supported detox and antioxidant health. And there's some things in here like quercetin. It's not a huge amount, but it helps the vitamin C work better. And it's a little extra, antioxidant, antihistamine. And then it's got some B vitamins for detox and some really good quality electrolytes. Okay, so that's we kind of covered some detox basics, detox supplements, and now this is a little bit more like looking into the long term. We did have a question about systems. There's so many systems involved in detox and so many systems that can be damaged from long-term toxin exposure. So the gut, certainly, usually the endocrine system, the hormone system is taking a hit. Sometimes the brain is inflamed and leaky. The immune system may be kind of overreactive, underperforming. So it's good to sort of evaluate where you are. One person mentioned they have some lung issues. Um, just what system needs support for you. I do cover a lot of this in my mold book on Amazon. You can work with us privately. It's just sort of the big topic. So I'm just kind of touching on it to say that, yeah, very much things can be thrown off from toxin exposure. So sometimes beyond just detoxing, usually beyond just detoxing, you have to think about restoring systems. And we're all going to be a little different on which ones have gone sideways, but they usually need a helping hand to get back online. I made the mistake or the short term mistake while I was detoxing to think, well, if I just get these toxins out, everything's going to go back to normal. It's not quite like that. I mean, maybe eventually, but the body's really depleted and affected, and cells are not as healthy as they used to be. it takes time for them to rebuild. So if you can give them help with, with herbs, with certain foods, with certain practices, with essential oils, it's going to help you get better a lot faster than just doing nothing, so to speak. So here's my mold book. If somebody is going through mold and hasn't purchased it, it's on Amazon. It's actually going to be on sale on our website during Black Friday time as well. We do offer a lot of coaching and testing. That's going to be on sale. It should already be on sale. I asked my team to get some of these things on sale in time for this webinar. So we offer consultations, testing. All the testing is going to be on sale for the holidays. Again, I think it's already on sale. And then all our branded products are on sale for the holidays. So just you can try them for yourself. You can buy some electrolytes for your husband, whatever you want to do. All these mega pre's will be on sale because I really want more people to be doing prebiotic fiber, excuse me, because I just find not as many people buy that. So I want it to be on sale for you to try it. We have some new like gut health packs too. You don't need a code or anything. Everything is going to be marked down at our site. And that's my last slide. Let me stop here and we'll take any other questions. Okay, Heather asked, "Do zeolite or binders expire?" I don't think really. I think the main thing is, okay, a couple of things. Like if you've already opened a bottle and it's getting exposed to moisture, things could get less effective. But if you think about how old some of these substances are, they're really not going to get older like in any detrimental way. So most products that are supplements have like a 2 or 3 year span and then they supposedly expire. It's still probably a good rule of thumb. You don't want to buy something, leave it in the back of your closet for 3 years and then try to take it. So it's probably a good rule of thumb to use something that's you've opened, probably within 3 months, 6 months. If it's unopened, maybe go a year. I know how I can get, like there's stuff I bought so long ago and it's just still there. So if I see something's really old, I'll just throw it out. But is it going to be like bad and not work? Probably not. It'll still work because it's just some old stuff. It's very stable. That's a great question. Dante asks, "Is diatomaceous earth a good heavy metal binder or binder in general?" Yeah, diatomaceous earth is a binder. I think it's especially good for candida, actually. And I don't know what else it's in particular good for, but I know it's in some candida protocols. I also use it for my pool. Cholestyramine are other things as effective or even close? Yeah, this is a good question. Some people really love cholestyramine. Cholestyramine is a prescription. I think it was originally for cholesterol, but they find it's a good binder. So some people do really well on it. Some people don't. So again, it's quite personal. As far as efficacy, again, maybe because it's so personal. I haven't seen any studies on exactly what cholestyramine removes at what rate versus compared to other things. So really, unless it's like tested in some, really clinical setting, I don't know if there's any. No, I mean, cholestyramine is already being used like off label when it's used as a binder. So I don't know if there's as much research on that. I know that my practitioner was like, it's going to be too strong for you. That's what he said in his opinion. So I never have tried it. So I definitely don't think it's necessary. But I have some clients who have really enjoyed it and benefited. I've had some people come off of it and feel horrible. So it's like quite variable. Hi, Paul. I said, "What do you recommend for adrenal and testosterone health?" So vitamin C 3 times a day, 500 milligrams with or even 250 with like a plant-based thing with it with bioflavonoids is like very affordable thing to do for the adrenals. I do like adrenal glandulars. I think like standard process designs for health. I think they're nice. Adaptogens can be nice, like ashwagandha. Um, and testosterone, yeah, some of the herbals really do work. And like the name is funny, but horny goatweed, these are actually on clearance at our site, but there's this couple formulas, Libido Stim F and Libido Stim M by Designs for Health. They have some DHEA plus some herbs. I really love those formulas. So you don't need a prescription for those. I do love prescription testosterone though. And after I wrote the book and got some interviews, I started to think back like if I if I did it over, I would probably would be on more hormone replacement sooner in my mold recovery. It's really hard to get your hormones back online as you're aging and you've gone through the trauma of toxins. It's just hard. Um, and when I started to do either those libido stim products or some supplemental hormones, it's like I woke up from a long, long sleep. So, if you can get a functional practitioner to prescribe you some bioidenticals, I think go for it. Um, I didn't used to always have that opinion because I thought, oh, has to be natural. But the truth is, like, we weren't really designed to live well, depends who you ask, but we're going to be producing a lot less hormones as we age, and hormones make you feel really good. Um, so that's sort of my opinion on it. But there are ways to naturally enhance it. Actually, doing like HIIT exercise is good for testosterone. Any kind of exercise, as long as you're not like overdoing it, is good for testosterone. But especially like pumping kind of HIIT weightlifting exercise is good for testosterone. Um, so hope that helps. Okay. Heather said, how to maintain energy. I think you asked that a little while ago, Heather, so we did kind of hit on that. But if you have a more specific question, feel free to put it in the chat. So I would say like the CoQ10, fresh air, moving more often, hydrating, getting a good night's sleep. Some of the adrenal and testosterone things we just talked about could be an option. Sometimes those just don't get talked about enough. The hormones are really important for energy. Getting your thyroid checked, and getting on thyroid medication if you need to be on it. That's something I'm on now that I really wish I had tried a little bit more early on. Because if your thyroid levels are not optimal, it can be just dragging. And if our liver has sustained some damage, that's where a lot of thyroid conversion happens. Oh, thanks, guys. I appreciate the good feedback. Okay, we got another energy question. How to increase energy while detoxing? Ever since I started some of the detox protocols, I have felt exhausted. That's a great point, Jenna. So, yeah, it can take a lot out of you to detox, right? Like, I forgot to circle back to COVID. Like, I'm still cutting over COVID and I'm like so tired. Well, when I think about it, it makes sense. The body is working incredibly hard. So when you're detoxing, it's working hard. However, just like we said, I don't want you to feel worse from detoxing. Jenna, you may need to back up. You may be doing too much. So if you're doing binders twice a day and I don't know what else you're doing, you could feel free to write it. Maybe you're just doing like 1 capsule a day instead of 4. Maybe you need to get more sleep. For me, using the sauna is very energizing, like not in a bad way, but you may want to look too, Jenna, at like which practices do give you energy. So for me, coffee in a month, dry brushing, sauna, movement, nature, they all play, they all give me energy and they're detoxifying. So may possibly there you could be over relying on some supplements as how you detox, and you need to pull back on the supplement side and just do more like living side, more resting, more real food, cooking, stuff like that. Or I don't know if you're doing like IVs or something more intense like chelation, then that can be really tiring. But yeah, I would, Jenna, just try to find like the balance of what is, and you can even like stagger it. So you could like go really crazy on detox on the weekends while you have more time to rest. And then during the weekdays, you take it easy and you just eat well, take some basic supplements, get to bed early. So that's totally allowed, also. There's lots of ways to do it. So I hope that helps. Yeah, Dante, the replay will just be on the same YouTube link. And I do have like 3 ebooks for you guys related to this topic, but I'm just gonna link them like afterwards because I think if I put them in the chat, it's too confusing to find them. So I will link them after. One's on side effects, one's on binders, and one's on detox readiness. So hi there. Yeah, we don't offer a free consult, but our consults are pretty affordable. So we can review your old labs or just talk to you, or we can run a new lab with you. A lot of people run a new lab with us for mold or gut or hormones. But actually, a lot of people have already run labs and they just would like us to take a look. That's a pretty popular one. And then we're just happy to just talk to you as well for a half an hour, and then we'll send you a protocol. So, yeah. How about, here's a good question. How about histamine levels that get too high as I'm detoxing? What's it take? Yeah, great question. So unfortunately, sometimes detoxing can aggravate your histamines too. Sometimes that's the substances your body is, again, your body can become really oversensitive, and almost any supplement you take can be like your body's like, Mah! And starts to make histamines. So quercetin, periliseed, vitamin C are some things that get down histamines. And then you can use Claritin if you're having a bad day. I think it's okay. A lot of gut health again is important for histamines. I'm trying to think what else. We had a question earlier about the lung, and I've been experimenting more with like teas. Why can I can see it, but I can't think of the name right now. You guys might have to help me out. What's the tea that's really good for your lung? I can't remember. It starts with an M, maybe. But I've been, trying to do some more herbal things to calm. So for me, it's like my bronchioles will get inflamed. So I'm just trying to do some things that are soothing. And I'm also being more aware for myself, so talking about the lung, about keeping my mouth shut and then keeping my nasals rinsed out. So I'm doing better about doing a sinus irrigation, and then just like keeping your mouth shut in the daytime. And then at night I tape, because if we're breathing things through our mouths, it's more irritating through the lung because the nose is a filter. So that's just a simple thing to do if you're dealing with respiratory things, is keep your nose cleaned out, keep your mouth shut. I find it works because sometimes, especially I'm still a little congested from COVID. If I'm mouth breathing, I'll start to have more asthma. So got to be able to breathe through your nose and keep your mouth shut. Mugwort, that's the tea I'm drinking. So the thing I learned recently about the lung from Dr. Jill Krista is that some of the mold fragments and microtoxins are so small that they can penetrate very tiny areas of your lungs, like your alveoli, and they can not work as well. So, what I need and want to learn more about, and I'm starting, is how to detox the lung. So I know there's like nebulized glutathione. I personally haven't used that. I have used a steam inhaler. I think it's pretty nice. You can just buy those on Amazon for like 20 bucks. It's just steam, but it's really nice. Um, what else? Definitely like deep breathing exercises, like Kundalini exercises, or just like alternate nostril breathing. Getting just working on your lung capacity, I think is helpful. If anybody wants to add more in the chat, feel free. If you want to add some suggestions. So that's what I'm in kind of investigating for the lungs. I meant to say that, in my opinion, kind of COVID prevention, all the detox and antioxidants certainly help, and fish oil and all that. But then I feel like once it's going away, your mitochondria, see, I feel my mitochondria really took a hit, um, from all the stress of the virus. So it's very tiring. And a lot of those, like getting those antioxidants back up, uh, are really helpful, I think, for like the long term stuff. And then making sure your gut barrier is really healthy by doing your mega spore, your mega pre, your mega mucosa. Again, I think all this stuff, if you do it all the time and it's your groundwork, it's going to be really good for you. And then just bump it up if you're recovering. Um, that's just my experience. Elaine, can you explain that more? The salt? Oh, salt caves. Oh, that's cool. Like the salt rooms. That's awesome. I should find one of those. I know they have it in Sedona. Yeah, you can do the steam bath with colloidal silver. I don't own a nebulizer, so um, I don't know as much about it, but I would think you could do a nebulizer with colloidal silver. But again, since I haven't used it. Nebulizer are pretty expensive. Steam inhaler, $20. So you can put colloidal silver in there. I forgot to say that. I would not put essential oils in there. It's too intense. But you can do some colloidal silver in the steam inhaler. I really like that. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, certainly some old teas and herbs have mycotoxins. So you're right, Elaine. You have to be a little careful with that. Really, herbs and spices should be used like within 3 months. So we have a tendency to leave them in the cabinet for so long. So that's another way to kind of keep it fresh. Jay, for lung capacity, I think just doing different breathing exercises is really good. So you can go on YouTube and look at like Kundalini breathing or like alternate nostril breathing. Um, I know Ari Whitten has some work around breath techniques that are pretty cool in his energy program. Probably for you and IJ and people out there with some lung issues, like doing more specific lung exercises would probably be really good for us. Um, I think I just need to make them more of my routine. Can you detox while intermittent fasting? Yeah, for sure. And intermittent fasting is a way to detox for sure. It's just be careful what you're capable of. So sometimes, if you're still quite sick, your body can't go a long time without eating. It's just not ready. So you may need to eat every 3 hours if you're in that state. Um, you're not resilient enough to skip meals or intermittent fast, but you can build up to it. You can have a longer gap. So just make sure when you eat, you're eating really nutrient dense foods. you're really moving into whole foods more and more and more. You're hydrating, and then you can be trying to have more of a gap in between meals and see how you do. I know when I was really at my sickest with mold, I needed to eat often. Um, and I didn't always eat as well as it wasn't horrible, but I would like crave pasta and like cut rice because I just was so low on energy. I just needed the carbs. But that certainly like changed. And luckily I had like a good foundation of diet. And as I got healthier, I could go longer. I was eating differently. So just be aware that we all are in different stages. Um, and sometimes women don't fast as well as men all month long. Like there's times in the month that we fast better. So if you've had an eating disorder, that's another thing to be aware of. Um, just be kind of flexible on the fasting. You can again, like I mentioned to, I can't remember her name now. Um, you could also do it on the weekend more. I think I do more of that. Like I'll do a coffee enema and just like a green juice, lemon water thing in the mornings while I do a coffee enema. So it's just like a kind of a partial fast. But I don't do that every single day. Oops. Um, Elaine, are you mentioning the grass-fed for which thing in particular? Just for energy, or does NAC thin your blood? I haven't heard that, but I don't know. Yeah, Elaine pointed out mold can inhibit protein synthesis. So yeah, there can be some points, especially if with mold, that your body can't do the job to keep your blood sugar up as well. So just be aware of that. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Yeah, I'll just mention and put in the chat here, or maybe I can screen share for a minute. Because it's the holidays, we're going completely cuckoo crazy. Like practically half our inventory will be on sale. Um, so it's a great time to try things out. If you want to do a consultation with us, if you want to, try a new antioxidant, if you want to try our binder, um, it's FunctionalDetoxProducts.com, and that supports our little business. So I appreciate it. And then the book is on Amazon. Sorry, we have some crazy stuff going on in the chat right now. But I'll just show you real quick. And I just thank everybody for being here. It was really fun. So this is what our site looks like. And yeah, just keep coming back. We have a bunch of stuff on sale now. This whole collection, and this whole collection is all on sale. All our brands are on sale right now. And then the Mega Pre is on sale now as well. And then we have a few more things adding on for the holidays. And then we have some items on clearance, like that libido stem I was telling you about. We're just trying to carry less teeny tiny onesie twosie brands. So we just put those on clearance. But yeah, would love to have you check it out. My main site is bridgitdanner.com. I don't know if I can link to that right this second, but I'll put that in the chat too. Thanks, Elaine. I appreciate it. It was really fun. I feel like I haven't done one of these in a while. It was really fun. My main website has some free ebooks and stuff, and I will put those down below the video once we wrap up here. So thanks so much for being on and all your great questions. Have a great holidays and hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody.